saying that all those in law enforcement are bad. We know there are many excellent, conscientious police officers, including those in our very own community. However, as is the case with any institution, there are those in institutions who can abuse their power, and these people must be held accountable for their actions. Furthermore, we believe that future abuses could be averted through honest reevaluation and discussion of policies and practices in our nation's law enforcement. We appreciate life in our small, friendly borough where neighbors support each other in tough times. We are grateful that we live where our police officers know the community well and will do even the little yet important things, such as driving by a house to bring joy to a young child's birthday party. It pains us to see that some have taken the position that the recent protests are sowing division when they should be understood as a sign of residents caring deeply about our community and the diversity of residents who live and work here in Parkside. If we all work together, if we all take the time to actually listen to each other, we can come to enjoy a Parkside that is better than it's ever been before. Sincerely, Pendelco School District residents for racial justice.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to address council? If you would come to the podium, give your name and your address.
I'm sorry, I just thought of another question. Matt Saunders, 62 East Shelton. Earlier this evening, you stated that correspondence will no longer be read into the record at the public meetings. Is that correct?
Correspondence, pro or con, unless it's business related to the government and governing of this borough, will not be read into the record.
So residents that just want to express opinion have no quorum as far as correspondence goes?
Well, that's why we have call to citizens.
Oh, in that case, then I want to read a statement.
You have
I understand. 3 minutes. This is a very quick statement.
Minutes, so I'm sure you can read it quickly.
It's very short. It's only one paragraph.
Thank you.
Just got to find it. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Okay. This was a letter that was addressed to members of council and the mayor. Recently, several members of this council have been vilified in public meetings without the chance to defend or explain themselves. However, certain other members of council have made hateful, dangerous posts on social media without a word from any other member. Shorty roll, anybody? Please explain what constitutes a bad post that calls for calling out a member of council in public so that the rest of the general public can prepare for the feeding frenzy of other council members attacking that one. Thank you.
I'd like to respond to that. One of the reasons that we will no longer be reading letters is because of the negativity that has been going on. If you listen to my statement, in fact, we don't want to continue to put a wedge between parties and persons. We don't want to escalate the hard feelings and stoke the pain that's already been going on in this community. And also, vile comments have been made against numerous members of this board.
Yes, I have.
And
On both sides.
on both sides, and that's what I'm trying to stop.
And should I go back up? I completely understand. However, some have been vilified in public, others not a word, and some of them have been threats.
And if you've seen the comments against myself personally, if you go back into some of the sites and read them, they're totally inappropriate. But
all of them are,
that's what I'm trying to stop here. Does anybody else wish to address council?
Judy Saunders, 62 East Shelton Road.
Mrs. Saunders, you have 3 minutes, please.
Set your timer.
I did.
Unfortunately, since the letter that I anguished about writing was not going to be read here today, and apparently it is not unity. If you have a question or you have a difference of opinion that matches those of the people here. So I'm going to tell you right now that I belong to a Gold Star family, that I buried a brother from Vietnam, that he served, that my father, my grandfathers, my uncles all served. So to act as though I am not patriotic because I have a difference of opinion than you is ridiculous. To act as though that a child yelling, "This is effing beautiful," is something that's so shocking. We all have to clutch our pearls. But me hearing some resident who was armed screaming the N-word at a child is not something we're going to discuss. If you want to come to the table, if we want to have unity instead of conformity, then you have to hear the other side. Your absolute refusal to listen to anything that is not in jackboot lockstep with you is showing that you don't want unity, that you want conformity. You know what is really stunning to me is that members of Delco Resistant Black Lives Matter went down to the woodlot and cleaned out all the dog shit and cleaned out all the things and planted plants, and not one member of council thanked them. Not one member of council could bring themselves to say, "Hey, good job. Thanks for doing that for our community. We appreciate it." Not one member of council could appreciate that we wrote a heartfelt letter to the police saying, "We love your community policing. Here's, what was it, Fatso's Donuts, to thank you." You know what? If I wasn't out there acting like Black Lives Matter and the police are in total opposition to each other, they're not. During MLK's trash riots, men wore billboards that said, "I am a man." They weren't taking away your ability to be a man or your ability to be a man. They were telling you that I am a man too, and that my life matters too. You want me to sympathize with the residents who are clutching their pearls over riots that aren't existing here, but you won't sympathize with children who are seeing people like them being murdered in the streets. You aren't asking for unity here. I'm sorry, you're not. If you want to come to the table and we're going to discuss it, from members of this council, my child's head was threatened to be cut off and served in a shorty roll. Wrong person. She wasn't the assistant manager. You might want to research next time. I have been schooled on what I should do for menopause from a woman who apparently went through it in the 1920s. I've been called a pot stirrer, a keyboard warrior. People have often talked about what my marital contentment is, whether or not I have mental issues. Here's what I'm telling you. One of you got that right. I'm not a keyboard warrior. I'm a warrior, and I come from a long line of them. My mother, during GRID, would take gay men into her home. My father's father would take people who were bums off the train and bring them and feed them in his home. I'm not going away. This is my town. I've spent 25 years doing everything I could to service this town, whether you want to dismiss it or not, whether you want to smear it or not, and I'm not going anywhere.
Mrs. Saunders,
The Academy Award goes to.
Mrs. Saunders, before you leave, I'd like to address your comments on the record.
Peace out.
You can still
Well-
Can we rebut that one?
I'd like to comment with Mrs. Saunders not here, obviously. My family has served in the military since the American Revolution.
As has hers.
I have 2 grandsons currently in the military, and I have been informed Monday that my 3rd grandson is enlisting. We all have a difference of opinion, obviously, and that's what we're trying to do. Several of us have, if you've noticed on social media, there's been a lot of changes made, and my changes this evening. The woodlot cleanup, I was not notified that it was cleaned up. We did not receive a letter. We cannot acknowledge anyone if we are not informed about it. Though we are all sympathetic to the situations around us in this world, Mrs. Saunders failed to mention when she made comments about menopause to an employee, she commented that the woman needed to take Xanax because she was mentally ill. And to me, she commented that I was either juiced during or after the council meeting last month, of which I took offense since I don't really drink. So there's been a lot of problems related to social media. Many of us have tried to correct those problems by backing off and taking a high road. We're all entitled to our opinion. And if any other council member would like to respond, please feel free to do so.
Yes, I would. To Mr. Saunders, She says that she's a vet, comes from a vet family, then how come the flag was hung upside down at your
Because
residence?
it's a sign of distress. As long as a Trump is in this White House, that flag will hang upside down.
You had your 3
He asked
minutes.
me a question.
No, I'm addressing this too, since your wife decided to leave and not stand to the council
Jury
for
roll,
her.
put a lid in.
Hey,
You threatened a 23-year-old girl with a beheading and a service in a shorty roll. On Facebook, I have the screenshots.
I do too.
Threatened a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah,
So, excuse me?
Yeah, you guys threatened a 15-year-old.
talk about a bully.
I'm leaving.
I'm not done yet.
Shut up. I don't care what you have to say.
That's enough. If anything, it's going to be respectful.
May I finish? Yes, may I finish?
Yes, please.
She also talked about how, I'm trying to get my notes together, about with the vets and the family, how she could throw the retired veterans and the policemen of Brookhaven under the bus with lies. That was unfair.
It was uncalled for. I don't know both sides of the story, but it was uncalled for. And tempers have become extreme. That's why many of us have tried to calm the situations.
And if anybody's theatrical, that was theatrical. Both of them.
Does anybody else on council have a comment on that? If not, we're going to go into unfinished business. Does anybody have any unfinished business?
Mayor President, I did.
Yes, sir.
I failed to mention the emergency management report that on behalf of the borough, I filed the National Incident Command report to the Delaware County Emergency System and to the federal government. The book is available if any council member would like to see the emergency plan for the borough. It is now complete and up to date. Also being said, I just finished the 2020 another National Incident Command certification at
Congratulations.
no cost to the borough.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. At no cost to the borough.
Yes.
At this time, council, I understand Mr. Sidlow has new business, or somebody has new business. If not, we will look to adjourn.
Well, I just wanted to say that I felt it was very inappropriate for this rally notice for Back to Blue to be put out through the borough email system. It was not a borough event, and therefore it should not have been publicized as though it was a borough activity.
Let me address that, Councilman. And the young lady is still here, in which I talked to that evening. What had happened is the two residents who put this event together gave us specific verbiage. I spoke with the young lady in the back that night when she and I talked about the problem. And as I said, nobody from any of the Black Lives Matter events came to the borough and communicated any type of verbiage that would be sent out or asked us to send anything out. And that's what happened on that.
So in the future, the Cub Scouts, any organization in Parkside can make announcements through the borough
No,
email?
what we did was a one and done. We did one for each of the events. We didn't know the size of turnout for either of the events. And I think now that the community and our police department is becoming more comfortable seeing events on the avenue, that it's a one and done.
It's a one and done of posting of announcements, or it's a one and done event? I'm not sure what's one and done,
One and done on that type of events.
that type of event. But what about, when is our borough email used for communicating to the residents?
We don't have an email, we have an email blast that is privately run and operated. And
When you say privately run, it's not run by the borough council?
that's correct.
So the email blasts that come from the government of Parkside are not from the government of Parkside?
Councilman, would you like to explain?
Yeah, what's the email address on there? Who sent that?
Parkside 19015
At what?
@gmail.com.
That's not a borough site.
Okay, but we receive from that email all kinds of information about the borough. Isn't that the official borough email?
I think we're mixing apples and oranges. If you're talking about the email blast that goes out,
Right.
where residents must sign up for, is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. We put that out for emergencies, look out for the weather, there's a pothole in the middle of Edgemont Avenue, you know, that type of thing, a general type of information. What we did was.
And what is that email address?
I don't know. I only get the email blast.
No,
The email,
I don't know.
the email address that, I sent that out. I'm asked to send that out. It's not a borough one. The one that you're saying is a borough, they contact us, as a council. It has borough.com at the end of it. That's a borough website, email address. That is a private site.
Okay, and how was that email list accumulated?
I get an email, and I've never noticed the email address. I already signed up for my email address, so honestly, one of these days, if I get one, I'll look and I'll let you know. I don't know. I just see it in my email box.
So you're saying this was not an official notification from the Borough Parkside, and that nobody signed up for this email list expecting to be getting notifications from the community?
Whoever signed up, if you go on our website, let me start from the beginning. If you go on our website, you can find the link to put your email address in there to get notification from the borough.
Right, and if you...
Are we okay so far?
Agreed.
Okay. When the event for the Blue Lives Matter occurred, the two gentlemen, residents who started this, came to myself and asked, how do we get a notice put out because there'll be activity on Edgemont Avenue? I said, give me your verbiage. I contacted Nick, and I said, they would like this put out so people know what's going on at Edgemont Avenue.
Right, but this is...
So far, so good?
Yes,
Okay.
but this is an invitation to attend. This is not like, hey, there will be a rally and, you know, just cover.
The council did not sponsor it.
It certainly looks like a sponsored activity from the way this email...
I don't have a copy of it, I'm sorry, I don't have a
I
copy.
can pass it down to you.
I don't,
So the Parkside 19015
now let me
Gmail
interrupt
address.
you. It says members of the BTB will be having a Back the Blue rally. And it does not say, please attend. It says, please share with all your family, friends, and any local pages. Spread the word any way you can so we can have a good turnout. Bring your flags, bring your signs, thank you, and God bless our police. It does not say this is from the borough. It says, come on down. And if you,
Right, but the only way I got that email
Was
was
from
by,
an email blast.
was by signing up
Right.
for an email blast from the borough before I was on council. So it seems as though government resources have been used.
no. Government resources are not being used. That is a volunteer position through, if you look at it as a Gmail account. That is, the person doing that is volunteering their time. We don't frivolously spend government money, believe me.
It's not,
too cheap.
there may not be dollars involved, but it's still a government resource. If it's an email list created by,
So you didn't support the rally and nor you support the police? Is that what you're trying to say here?
I don't see how I said that at all. I'm saying that government resources
I'm
were
just
used
asking a
for,
question.
I'm saying
All right, government resources are not spent on this, period. Now, do you have anything else this evening?
Yes, I'd like to go back to the streetlights.
Okay.
Has the borough solicitor, the borough engineer ever received a cost estimate for changing out all of the lights? to
I
be
have
LED?
that if you bear with me a second.
Okay.
I have it from a budget 2 years ago or 1 year ago. I think I still have it with me. Yes. September 24th, 2019.
Okay.
Below is a budget price to replace the borough's existing streetlights with 53W and 101 watt Cree LED Cobra heads. The price includes all miscellaneous materials, environmentally responsible light disposal. It also takes into account spacing the project. I have included a solid-state photocell with surge protection. I based this cost on material, heads, labor, and the total cost was, I think she calculated to be over $50,000, $51,000 or $52,000. And this was from September of 2019.
Okay, so a year ago. So, have we done a return on investment? Like, what is the existing streetlight wattage and and the new one was
Well,
sold
since
for $253?
since the street lights are paid out of liquid fuel, and for those people in the audience who have never heard me say liquid fuel before, that's a trickle-down effect through the state to the municipalities based on population and mileage of your streets. We do not pay for our street lights. It's paid out of liquid fuel. It's financially irresponsible to take $55,000 out of our budget and put it in streetlights when another entity, being the state, pays for our streetlights. And I don't think it's fiscally responsible to have our engineer, though very reasonable in cost, do an estimate on how much the light bulbs are going to cost versus changing them over.
I can tell you, you would probably have a savings of somewhere between 45 and 55% of your bill. Problem with streetlights, and you would do your traffic signals as well, your traffic signal as
One.
well.
One.
The three heads on the signal.
Right.
Or the 3 lamps on the signal. But I have not done one. I have done those. As a matter of fact, there was a company, ESG, that has done several of these. It's an energy savings company that comes in, does a free audit, does interior, exterior, your street lights, your traffic signals, cameras. I think I sent you something.
You sent it
about
to me
that.
already, yes.
To look at that and determine whether or not it makes any sense, you would actually have to do a loan for the upfront costs. They would provide you with a percent or the amount of savings that they're estimating would be guaranteed, and then you would put the project together. They would take care of the project. There's no bidding that's done because they are already on CoStars, so you don't have to bid the project. And that's probably the best way or the cheapest way to do it versus having a lighting engineering firm come in and do all of that design. I will tell you, and it's one thing that Ann Pence put in the proposal from Lenai, that you've got to look at the spacing a little differently, because the LED lights don't shine the same as a mercury vapor or sodium light. You don't have the spread like you would have with those lights on an LED. You do save money. There's a tariff that's involved, so you don't save as much with a street light as you save with a traffic signal. Traffic signal, I can tell you unequivocally, you save at least 2/3 of the costs, because your reds and your greens are your biggest savings. So your bill goes down about 2/3.
Okay.
That's the best I can tell you.
Okay. So $50,000 is the estimate?
Yes, that's correct.
How many streetlights is that?
And that was, what did I just say, September of 2019. That's correct.
And that's just streetlights, that's not...
That's correct.
that's not
I only
full.
asked for an estimate last year, streetlights. Does anybody else on council have any new business? If not, I'll entertain.
Madam President, could I say something?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I have, and the chief and I have talked about this numerous times, and I have gone on record as saying that I compliment the individuals for the Black Lives Matter cause, but they've done an excellent job showing exactly what the First Amendment is. I really don't even want to call them protests, because Protests engender the thought of somebody's against something. These are not protests, they're rallies. They're rallies by people who I firmly believe in the cause. But I think the cause is diminished on both sides of the aisle by this bickering over who gets an email blast and who doesn't, about whose ego is offended because something is said something or something isn't said something. I think that we really have to start to understand each other in this matter. Because an individual doesn't attend a Black Lives rally doesn't mean that they don't believe that Black lives matter, or for that matter, all lives matter. I think an individual who doesn't attend a Back the Blue rally is not saying that they don't back the police officers and what they do. I really think we have a chance here in this borough to produce very positive results, both for both organizations and for the First Amendment. I just wish that we could get over this bickering about email blasts and egos and that type of thing, because in my opinion, as humble as it is, that diminishes everyone's participation in this type of activity. Thank you, Madam President.
Mayor, I totally agree. It's not you against us. We're all in this together, and we need to communicate.